Hello and welcome to my combo lords. I got clocks falling. Better get these in a slightly better location. I still need to spend a little time prepping my clocks for the rainy season. When the rain hits this zone, some of these clocks are going to take a little damage. So I need to see which ones I need to relocate to the house or somewhere, and the other ones that I'm just going to let be washed by the rain and see what happens to them. I do need to still expand my clock collection. I have been stuck at home recently and I haven't gone to many thrift stores or other missions to find cheap used broken clocks, but I'll return to that quest before long. And of course, one of the deepest clock related missions would be to find a grandfather clock, those massive ones. But when you look online, the working ones are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I can't afford that. I need to find someone who has a broken grandfather clock, and I'll pay them 20 bucks or something for a broken one. And hello to our first commenter, and welcome to everyone who popped by the stream. Glad to have some people off from the get go. Although I also like ranting in any case, just to have some video documentation for whoever wants to see a little behind the scenes and some bonus math and learning and philosophy and stuff. Now, I probably will do a little math here in a bit, but first we'll do a little Halloween chat. Hey, Sebi, how's it going? Hello to everyone else, and thanks for joining. Now, Halloween, feel free to leave a comment if you're dressing like anything cool this year. I'm not wearing my clock costume because I'm a little disappointed. I was going to go to a fun Halloween party my friends were having last night, and I was going to get all clocked up, wear my clock suit, and maybe even download an app on my phone that ticked really loudly, which I probably wouldn't keep on all night, but I thought it'd be funny to be ticking really loudly if I was dressed like a clock. But then my whole family got COVID this week. And although I tested negative yesterday, I do have a decent chance that I still got it and it didn't kick in because I've been hyper exposed to it. We live in small quarters, so even though I'm trying to dodge them, it's difficult. So, good chance I'm going to come down with COVID soon, and I will still be doing my live streams and stuff, but it has been a little harder to film full episodes or shorts or stuff right now because I had to warn all my cameramen that they may not want to come by this zone this week, maybe a contagious zone. So that is unfortunately on pause is filming epic stuff. However, I do have two stockpiled episodes that I filmed last week still, which one is going to drop on Halloween tomorrow because I got to do a little more pumpkin analysis and some mishaps with berries and such. And another one will drop maybe about 6 days after that about mathematical things involving four-dimensional dice, the four elements, and some strange sequences. Hello to everyone in the comments. Hello, Magic Fellow, and hello to my viewer from France. Um, Great to have people all across the globe. Like I've mentioned before, in ways I'm not the biggest fan of technology, and there are ways in which I've been better suited to have lived like 500 or 800 years ago or something, because I like paper books, I like nature. I wouldn't mind moving to a small town someday where like I have a lot of room in the woods or something. But with that said, I wouldn't have been able to have such a vast spread of different areas of people learning from me and sharing my love for life as I get with this globalization going on, where gotta take advantage of the internet to what you can. And I'm not a big technology head. Like I love YouTube. I have a couple sites that I like going on, but I'm pretty old fashioned, apart from I do like the technology that lets me talk to you guys. Um, Someone said they are Welsh English. As far as my genetic backstory, I have a bit of a lot of European things in me. Got some Russian, some German, some French, some Polish, some Ukrainian. Um, so a variety of different Germanic things in my blood. My grandfather actually was a Jew in Germany in the Holocaust and escaped, and I never met him, but he fled Germany from the Holocaust when he was a young teenager and managed to relocate to New York and start a family and stuff. And although I never met him, that is the only reason I'm here. And then there's a variety of other interesting family stories we may hear at some point. Um, But right now, it's our spooky Halloween season. And as a reminder, even though this is part of what my Monday episode is about for my Halloween special tomorrow, I have already revealed one thing about pumpkins, which I need to reiterate, which is that they're berries. Now, I got some pumpkins over there. Let me get some pumpkins in a minute because you got to watch my episode tomorrow to really see what is a pumpkin as far as within the berries. But I'm giving you this fact already that pumpkins are a type of berry. And I feel almost scammed that I never was taught that much until recently when I did more research because I've always loved berries. Berry was one of my first words as a kid, like going on walks and trying to find little berries, even the non edible ones, just because they're cool to find. And berry was one of my first words. But and Halloween's one of my favorite holidays, but I never realized how correlated they were until recently. Halloween is out of all the Western holidays, the one that is most berry centric. It celebrates massive berries, pumpkins. And yeah, berries really range in size. The definition of a berry botanically, when I'm saying that these things are berries, there really are two ways you could use the word berry, of course. And one is the cultural word, which is we use berry to mean the smaller, sweeter, certain types of things, and the ones that just got berry in their name. And then there's the botanical definition, which is a fruit, which is a part of a plant grown around the seeds. That's basically like kind of like the ovary of the plant wrapped around the seeds. The fruit of the fruits that are grown from a single flower with a single ovary, are the ones botanically known as berries. And you'll see in tomorrow's episode that not only are there a lot of things you don't consider berries that are, there's a lot of things that you do consider berries that aren't. So there's a whole conspiracy going on. Plus, what are pumpkins among that? Well, we could raise the question, although I'm not going to give all of the answers right now. We could raise the question of which of these are pumpkins. Now, I feel like almost everyone's going to call this a pumpkin. I feel like most people would call this a pumpkin, but not all. Maybe like, I don't know. Feel like some people would call this a pumpkin. Feel like not as many people would call this a pumpkin. But might be a more confusing tale than we realize. So let me set these pumpkins on some broken clock glass, make a little room. And yeah, it's different times at night and day for all sorts of you, as the comments note. And that's why I think that if I do a consistent streaming schedule throughout the week, which I may start doing at some point, I'll try and do a few different times so that different people have a chance to pop in. Like I'll do some days where it's my morning and some days where it's my night. And then maybe people will get more of a chance to pop by. Right now, I'm just doing the streams whenever I want to. And today, it's mostly because I'm kind of trapped at home, not sure yet if there's a good chance I caught COVID or not. And I can't really film any long episodes. So today's goals are try and still have a meditative, nice day, stream and chat with you guys, and finish editing my Halloween special. Now, tomorrow I will probably also do a Halloween stream. I actually do have some interesting candy, I realized, because although I haven't gone out to get any Halloween sorts of candy, like half a year ago or something, my great friend gave me as a gift for, I think it might have been my birthday or something, so maybe that was a few months ago, gave me as a gift all of these foreign Kit Kats. And if you didn't know, the candy Kit Kat, which is not necessarily the most interesting, incredible candy, like it's all right, it's cool, but it's not that innovative in the candy realm or weird. Well, in Japan, it is much more than in the Western world. They have tons of flavors of Kit Kat. Now, what I really want to try all the flavors of are high chews. If you guys know those little candies, those are those little like chewy kind of gum like, but you can chew through them, really good ones. And they import those flavors to the US like one at a time or a couple at a time. And if you look at the list, they have crazy flavors of those. But I'll have to wait until I can get the chance to try those. Already got from my friend all the weird Kit Kat flavors. Now, I already ate the ones that had the name translated, so I knew what they were, that are like this one's yogurt flavor, this one's melon flavor, or whatever. But there's a bunch that I saved for last that I was most intrigued by because they didn't have any translation on the name. They just have the Japanese word for it, which I don't know. So maybe I'll bring those out today or tomorrow and we can guess together what flavor it's going to be before and after I eat it. I still might not necessarily know. They all taste pretty similar. They all taste like a weird variety of milk chocolate or like white chocolate practically. But it'll be interesting to see if we can guess the flavor from first seeing the wrapping and then seeing it unwrapped, and then if maybe I can guess it by taste. Anyone else got any favorite candies? And of course, this is just because it's Halloween time. You know, it's good to make sure not to eat too much candy because you got to eat some good fruits and vegetables and proteins and stuff. I like trying to eat healthy and I like cooking. But, you know, if it's Halloween, might be a good excuse to talk about candy, eat a little candy. I'm a fan of sour candy personally. I even like making my own homemade sour candies by I bought citric acid and you can like take fruit snacks or something and dip them in citric acid and then you get like sour things that are your choice of how sour. Citric acid is really strong though. You got to be careful with that stuff. You eat a spoonful of that, it'll like be bad. Also, I have way too much citric acid. I don't think it spoils, luckily, because when I was online, I was like, I want to get some citric acid. They had on online when I was going to buy it's like 1 pound or 2 pounds or something like that. And I was like, oh, the 2 pound bag is only like 70% more than the 1 pound bag in money, not twice. And you always get tricked by big things being a good deal when you don't necessarily need that many. Because now, like, it turns out 2 pounds of citric acid is like a lifetime supply. so, yes. Hello and thank you to all the new comments. As usual, I can't reply to everyone, but I do see and appreciate the comments. Also, for some reason, when you post these streams after on YouTube, the comments don't process right away. So you can only see the comments I'm referring to after it's been like half a day after the stream once it ends, which is kind of annoying. But the only way around that is to have the comments like on the text of the screen, which I don't necessarily want in case there's like dumb spam and stuff. So unfortunately, when the streams end, you have to wait like half a day before the comments come back. But then they come back and they are embedded in history. Everyone who commented during grade -1 will look back on it fondly. Remember, grade -1 is only about halfway to 2/3 done. So we got a lot more learning before it's even the start of grade -2. Which won't necessarily be right at the start of next year. It could be somewhere a couple months into next year, might be once grade -1 has achieved what it needs to. Um, Someone's asking if I can solve a polynomial equation. I'm not going to try and work on that one right now. Sorry. Always feel free to put random, like, can you solve this in there? But today, if I do get sidetracked about math, I do actually have a topic I want to share. I think one thing I might start using my streams for is when I'm brainstorming a topic that may show up in a future video. I often haven't been putting it in the stream quite as much because I don't want to spoil my future videos. But sometimes there's bits I don't know if they're going to make sense to put in a future video because I want to try figuring something out myself and see if I can come to unique conclusions. So some of our streams, we may test out some mathematical stuff and see which ones work well enough to make it in a future video or not. And one thing I want to test out today is going to be really weird integer bases. I mean, non-integer number bases, where we're used to some of my videos are like, this rules also in other numerical bases, but we're still assuming that I mean like an integer base, like binary, base 6, base 12, or something like that. Now, you can actually try and invent systems where you're using bases in a positional way where they are powers of some number as different placeholders, but you don't use expected values. You use bases that are negative or bases that are fractional. And so one that I want to test out is I was reading a little bit about the golden ratio base. And there's some really interesting patterns of how to make integers using the golden ratio. And you could easily do that using subtraction because the golden ratio squared is one more than itself. And it is one more than its reciprocal, one over itself, because of that same thing. So you could subtract it from its square to get one or something. But what if you didn't use subtraction, but you're allowed to use negative powers of it, like reciprocals of it and stuff? Can you add up things like one over the golden ratio, one over the golden ratio squared? Golden ratio squared. Can you add stuff like that to make integers? Surprisingly, yes. And when I looked it up online, I saw a table of some, but I've already let myself forget those because they didn't have the reason those were derived. And so instead of digging further to find that, I figured maybe today in the stream, we'll see if we can make integers out of that ourselves. And then I'll be able to write the golden ratio based representation of certain numbers. Now, there's, ooh, one of my cats is coming. My cat Sage is coming. He loves helping when I'm in the combo class. Sage, come here. This cat was such a sweetheart last night when he comes and like cuddles me in my bed at night. He'll let me just like pick him up by his scruff and cuddle me super close. And like I can just grab him wherever and hold him and he'll purr and hang out. And here is Sage. Hey, Sage, where you going? I want him to make a little cameo because he's a little awesome lord. Where are you going, Sage? Here you are. He likes exploring back here because it's interesting here. There's all this like buried dice and weird stuff. Now, actually, it's landfill here. I think back in history, like hundreds of years, it was water here because I'm really close to the Berkeley Marina where there's water. And they added landfill on top of the water. I'm not positive if this part was water or not. I need to look into that. But there's like layers of landfill here that's like old broken glass and stuff in the dirt, old like metal parts and stuff, and kind of crazy stuff in the dirt here. And now I'm adding my own layer of dice and clock parts and stuff. And I realized the other day that someday deep in the future, when some alien archaeologist comes here and digs down in the soil, which will be way higher at that point, and the alien archaeologist digs down after looking at rock layers and other parts where they're like, oh, this lines up with that extinction event and stuff because this rock is that color and this is that type of rock, like you can do. They're going to be like, we found something really weird. When we dug in this one area, we hit a clock layer, and slightly above the clock layer, there's a dice layer. So we'll see. But yeah, the combo classroom will not only possibly outlive us all, but it might. There could be crazy plants and animals here that outlive us all, for all we know. I want to plant some wild trees back here and plants and make it wild back here. Now, I also want to somehow get an educational grant or some money somehow to have like a warehouse or something when I go into grade -2 so I can do bigger scale science experiments. And so I have an indoor set for when the noise is bad out here. And my goal, honestly, is to film like half my stuff out here and like half of it in a more controlled environment. But don't worry, there will always be scenes back here as long as I'm hopefully my family's able to like fully pay off the house here and own this property 100%. And then I will know that this combo place is my realm. My end goal is if I ever made a ton of money, we share the yard with 2 other houses that right now it's just like random renters there who are cool people, but they're just like random different renters over the years and stuff. And if I ever somehow was rich and I bought those 2 houses, I would turn the whole front yard into an insane hedge maze. And then you would have to go through weird paths in the hedge maze. And one path would lead to the combo classroom, one path would lead to different houses. And oh boy, you'd have to be careful. Oh no, my cat Sage got caught in a bag. He was playing with the bag and he got his leg caught in it. He's good though. Okay, Sage. Okay. Yeah, cats, curiosity and cats, as they say. But yeah, curiosity is a good trait, so don't worry. Now, let's see. Someone wants to justify their purchase of 100-sided dice. Yeah, I would say that unfortunately, it's not a platonic solid, a 100-sided die. There's no way to make a 100-sided die that has identical faces of regular polygons, and that's actually the topic of an episode in about a week. But with that said, I don't have a 100-sided dice, and it makes me a little jealous because having more options of different sides of dice, nothing wrong there. The more options, the better. Now, with a 100-sided die, you could also mirror smaller dice. You could mirror not a 6-sided die because hundred's not threeven, but you could mirror a 20-sided die by saying 1 through 5 equals, like, basically divide the result by 5 and round it a certain direction or some way like that. You could basically mirror a 20-sided die with the 100-sided die or other types. So although it's not one of the best dice of all time, it's not a platonic solid, the fact that you made a dice master like me think, why don't I have a 100-sided dice? There you go. That's, you know, a good reason. You've made me start thinking about when my next dice purchase will be. I think it's surprising to me always that there's more than 1,000 dice back here because they've gotten so scattered back here that whenever I'm like trying to get dice for a scene, it'll be like hard to find a type. I'll be like, okay, where are like 10 that are all the same color, or like where's a 8-sided one in particular, or like something like that. And it's surprising that with more than 1,000 dice, they've gotten so buried and scattered, it's hard to get them. So I almost need to get another 1,000 dice, but I don't think that's the next purchase. um, so in any case, that was a little random ranting before we got our math stuff. Now, I do want to talk about that golden ratio based thing. So let me think if I got any final Halloweeny thoughts. One thing I might do tomorrow is I did find an old Halloween costume that I mentioned in a previous stream that I like costumes that are homemade and like a self-invented idea more than a store-bought costume. And it's actually historically more often kids would dress up as like, I'm a generic ghoul or a generic witch or something, as opposed to being like, I'm playing this celebrity character or whatever, a pop culture reference. And I actually like self-invented ones that are like, I'm some weird joke or some weird alien species or something. And I have invented weird alien species. And I went a little deep into the lore of a fictional planet I invented in middle school where these creatures called Dunases live. And let me draw you guys a Dunas real quick. Oh man, the Halloween special took a toll on this whiteboard. It actually, I hate to say, blame the pumpkin, but there's like a dent in the whiteboard now from something that happened to it. It's okay because whenever there's a new grade of combo class, which will be somewhere about once a year, um, I'll get a new lab coat, I'll get a new desk, I'll get a new whiteboard, I'll get a haircut. So we get a reset every once in a while. And then whenever we get the reset, you can kind of just be waiting for the chaos to rebuild. But in any case, here is a little creature I invented back in the day um, called a Dunas, and there's a whole lore behind them. I wrote tales and short stories about their antics on the planet they live on and other species that live there with them. But those are their arms and legs, that's their face, and they have these are horns, but they're like horns within the skin. So they have like skin around these horn like shapes, kind of. And so that's a little sloppy Dunas. But I actually made a massive Dunas costume when I was in middle school with my friend. And me and my friend made these big Dunas costumes we painted and wore them to school. And my friend even got in a yearbook photo. And I was so jealous. I was like, oh man, I'm never going to forget that I didn't get in the Dunas yearbook photo. But we did also where the Dunas is trick or treating, and we made informational pamphlets, including some of the lore I invented about them. And we went door to door. And when we trick or treated, we also handed out informational pamphlets about the Dunases that we were dressed up as. And there was this one old couple I remember who we went to their door and we're like, hi, we're representing Dunases. Here's some fact info about Dunases. And they're like, we already donate to UNICEF. And we're like, no, not UNICEF. Dunases. It's a fictional never mind. Someone says they have a website for their books information. I'm not sure what book they write, but that sounds cool. I actually have several websites tied down right now, and there will be comboclass.org launched at some point with a lot of cool stuff there because I do a lot of writing you haven't seen, and I am in the midst of writing fiction books, a math book about threevens and throds, another math book or two, and a lot of descriptions of more details about a lot of the videos I've made. So I'm definitely going to be launching comboclass.org in the future, and I might just start posting more of my writings random places online. As some people may have seen recently, I noted that there are more little combo communities growing, and there is a Discord, which let me put the link here in a minute for people who use that app, which I haven't normally used, but at some fan recommendations, I made one and have grown to enjoy chatting with them there. And there is a subreddit as well, which one of my combo lords made and also added me as a moderator there. So let me put links to those for anyone who wants to join any future combo discussions because I will be hanging out these places and also because you may enjoy some of the other combo lords. People who communicate there may be people who enjoy learning in a similar way or believe that we can have fun being silly yet incredibly deep with some mathematical and scientific investigations and such. And it's also a place of much love and support. I love all of my combo lords so much, and I really appreciate you all. And I want to make a place and a community that is, although it sounds cheesy, a place full of love. So here's a link to the Discord as well for anyone who uses that app. I'm not a technology head, like I noted, so I'm only going to end up using sites that one at a time I'll teach myself because they're applicable. But with that said, I've grown to like the Discord one, and I already go on Reddit a decent amount, so maybe I will start posting more combo thoughts on that page and stuff. Really, though, my favorite two websites are YouTube, which is why I am so happy and blown away how fast these channels are growing. And this bonus channel has flown past the main one, almost caught up with it. And then the bonus channel flew past with all of these shorts now popping off again. But YouTube has always been one of my favorite websites. So this is where I can imagine dedicating a lot of time to video making. And I would honestly rather work for YouTube in terms of like, you know, working back and forth with them on the partner program and stuff in the future and trying to make money through that than work for a Hollywood company or for Netflix or something just because I grew up watching YouTube. So I would rather work for the thing that I'm a fan of. I don't watch as much Netflix or Hollywood movies as I watch YouTube. So I would rather make stuff for YouTube. And then my other favorite website is Wikipedia, which, as usual, you gotta give the disclaimer that you don't want to immediately trust all the facts there. You want to look up their sources other places, and you don't want to use it as the final source you're citing because it doesn't really require a credential to edit it. However, in a math or science based thing, now a biography of a person may be a lot more percent wrong. I've seen somewhere like a biography of a historical thing could be pretty skewed, but a mathematical or scientific concept, although it may be lacking details, the details you're given typically I've found is a pretty good rate of correctness on Wikipedia. So I find it to be a magnificent resource for discovering topics that you will look up on other sites and sources if you want to really know what you're doing with them. So you're not going to just end at Wikipedia, but to discover new topics and just have a lot to chew on. Wikipedia is such a magnificent website and has been the original introduction to a lot of like names of some word that I ended up researching and making videos about in the future. Um, so Wikipedia is great, and I think that on my comboclass.org, I'll take some inspiration from that. Where also what I like about it is it has relationships to choose your own adventures. You get to pick where you go down the hyperlink rabbit hole. And I want to make more choose your own adventure math books and pages on my website where you're kind of like going through one topic to other possible topics it links to. And I also want to make some choose your own adventure fiction books, although less of you picking the story and more of you choosing which document and lens to look at in what order and time. So you're going to have to stay tuned for all of that. But, you know, just giving a shout out to my two favorite websites, YouTube and Wikipedia. And everyone always is like, but what about just Google? And I guess it's true. Without just Google, it would be pretty hard to look up topics. But there are other websites. Like you'd probably just end up using like Bing or DuckDuckGo or something if Google didn't exist. And yeah, maybe they're not as efficient or good. But I'm not putting Google, regardless of how often I search stuff on it, not putting it up there with YouTube and Wikipedia. I also am a fan of Reddit just as like my more mindless activity, scrolling through places to find something to laugh at or whatever. And I occasionally use other social media. Sometimes I'll link like my old like Facebook and Instagram and stuff, which I've barely ever used recently. But sometimes I'll link it, and then you guys can flood over and all my friends and family will be surprised because a lot of my friends and family probably have no idea that I've gone so deep into this combo stuff because I somewhat vanished off the map about a year and a half ago when I had a crazy accident and a lot of insane stuff happened in my life. And after vanishing off the map, all of my good friends know what's up with me, but there's probably a lot of people in my life who have no idea that like I'm doing a live stream with a bunch of people watching or that that's a thing in my life. Um, Someone saying Wiktionary is also a recommendation. I've used that a little less, but it's definitely anything with like the wiki name is usually a pretty good resource. Even like there are like other called like something wiki for like a particular type of TV show you might be into or whatever. Sites like that are cool. If they put wiki or wick somewhere in the name like that, it's probably a sign that they're a pretty educational thing. And I'm just a big supporter of free education online. I want more free education. I felt like when I graduated high school and got accepted to some really expensive colleges, and I was like, don't want to go to the nice colleges because it'll bankrupt me and because I don't even know if it's going to teach me as much as books I read on my own. I ended up really appreciating all the online resources and cheap paper books you can buy used that can give you hours and hours of material to teach me stuff that way. And I really want to hope that some of you guys, even ones who don't think you ever would, get hooked on reading paper books because it really can be not only a meditative activity where you kind of sink yourself into a real world realm, you're holding an item you're interacting with, yet conjuring an imagination back and forth with this thing it gives you with this item. But I think that it can make your thinking extra deep sometimes, or your learning by being that tuned in, harder to have certain types of distractions at the moment. And it can be hard for some people. I haven't read fiction that much recently, but for some reason I got re addicted to reading math books and I'm just rolling with that. So sometime I'll give more math book recommendations too, because I've had some that I think, well, I guess I'll name a couple recommendations right now for anyone who would consider reading math books before any of mine come out, because I will be publishing some too that I think you guys will like the most out of any math book you'll ever read. However, for reading in the meantime, some books that I would recommend as far these are going to be ones that are a little more on the digestible or recreational end. For learning about numbers in an elegant way, I recommend the book The Book of Numbers by John Conway and Richard Guy, which has a very beautiful by chapter look into an overview of some of the big things going on in number. And it's written in a somewhat playful and somewhat inventive way where they kind of came up with their own structures and terms, some of which stuck historically. But that's one of the great things about that author, John Conway, is he would do a lot of playful investigations that had deep applications and some stuck in history. Another playful yet deep one I would recommend is the author Clifford Pickover. For one numbery one, his book Wonders of Numbers has a lot of fun numerical games and stuff in it. Another great author who actually runs a YouTube channel here as well is the guy Matt Parker, who runs the channel Stand Up Maths, who someday I hope to collaborate with because I look up to him. He's one of the greatest YouTube channels related to education, in my opinion. And he's written some great books as well. So his book, he has two really good books, but I would recommend jumping in with this one called Things to Make and Do in the Fourth Dimension. It's not just about the fourth dimension, it's about a lot of fun stuff. And then I would recommend anything written by the authors Martin Gardner and Raymond Smullyan, who are sort of recreational logician mathematicians who've written a lot of cool things in their day. Those are a few books that I feel like I've gotten a lot of fun learning out of over the time. Now, someone's saying some other books. I haven't read the one called Roadside Picnic. I've read Brave New World, which is good. Yeah. Someone's saying, "What is the name of this book?" Is fun. Yes, Magic Fellow. Yes. What is the name of this book by Raymond Smullyan? Is always going to have a very deep place in my heart because it's a book with all these logic puzzles and it goes up in complexity up toward like Gödel's incompleteness theorem and hard stuff. But and so as a kid, I was given this book by my mom, who's not even the biggest mathematician of the family, but she had thought it looked really interesting in Japan in a used bookstore and bought it and brought it back to America eventually. And I ended up getting a hold of this through her and loving the little logic puzzles as a kid, even though I couldn't figure out the end of the book much because there's chapters that were above my head. So it was like this cool slope to have in front of me, knowing someday maybe I'd understand it more. And the early chapters have all these knight and knave puzzles where knights always tell the truth and knaves always lie. And you visit some island where inhabitants follow those rules. And you encounter all these paradoxes and things about propositional logic, things about tautologies versus contradictions, the limitations of certain logic systems and their abilities. And so it has all these deep applications hidden in sort of anecdotes and puzzles and stuff. And as a kid, I remember like being in my friend's cabin in the woods, me and my friend looking at these knight and knave puzzles and trying to figure out who's a knight and who's a knave and inventing our own puzzles like that. And so that was the first book by that guy, Raymond Smullyan, I read. And now I have like 10 of his books. And so what is the name of this book will always have a very deep place in my heart. Now, something I wanted to bring out to maybe read tomorrow, or maybe I'll go on a quick run for it in this stream at some point and grab it, is um, a spooky kind of Halloweeny mood to me because Halloween is sort of a cheesy type of spooky in like a good way. It's like spooky, but not like horror movie spooky quite as much as like a little bit of cheesy, fun spooky. And that reminds me of the series Goosebumps by R.L. Stein. And I like the TV show too, which is like a mix of like kind of genuinely spooky and kind of really cheesy in a funny way. And the book series, and especially the Choose Your Own Adventures, which were called Give Yourself Goosebumps, I was obsessed with as a kid. And I would collect them one at a time when I could afford them. And I have like half of the 50 ones that they made now. But as a kid, I would collect them. And like they now going back to them, I still like reading them with my friends at a campfire and stuff because you have to put your brain in this funny realm where you're like, okay, it's kind of like watching a really cheesy, spooky movie where, or like going out on Halloween where you're like, if I put my mind in the right spot, I'm gonna have some genuine thrills, but I'm also gonna be like laughing about how cheesy and ridiculous it is. So I kind of wanted to bust out a Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure to read a little bit of with you guys, which maybe I'll do either later today or tomorrow, because that's a good Halloweeny mood. And I definitely still have a bunch of those sitting on my shelf. So, someone's saying Monster Blood 3. Yeah, that was one of the main series. I didn't read as many of the non Choose Your Own Adventure ones, although I did have some of them. Um, so before I think about going on any quests to, if I go on a break inside, I'll get things like my foreign Kit Kats and my Goosebumps book and my phone, my computer charger and stuff. But for now, I have been hinting that I wanted to do a little investigation about the golden ratio base. So we're going to look into that for a second. Now, this next 10 or 20 minutes, if anyone's rewatching this in a few months, may be in an episode at that point. But this is kind of testing out what works and what I can prove easily myself and deduce and really get an instinctive feeling for versus what I'll have to look up and figure out other people's proofs and justifications for. Now, if I'm using a numerical base, what that means essentially, like here's a number in our base, and these are places, and we're going to give one with a decimal too. Let's give actually two decimal places because this will help us visualize stuff. So if I have the number 123.45, what that means to us in our base is three ones, two tens, 1/100, 4/10ths of a one, 5/100ths of a one. But what is more like, how can we condense that phrasing so that it's more of like a singular pattern? Well, let's call b equals 10. And then let's say this is the amount of b to the zeros, because 10 to the 0 is technically 1. And that sounds weird, but then this is the amount of b to the ones. This is the amount of b to the 2's. And this is the, etc., b to the 3's. This is the amount after the decimal of b to the negative 1's. Because 10 to the negative 1 means 1/10. So that's the amount of 1/10. And that's the amount of b to the negative 2's right there. Because 10 to the negative 2 is 1/100th. And that's 5/100ths. So basically what we actually have here is how many b to the 0's, b to the 1's. And if we have a decimal, how many negatives of different types we have. So why does b have to be 10? It doesn't. B could be something like 6. And if we were in base 6 and wrote this would mean something else. It would mean 3 1s still, because that's 6 to the 0. 2 6's, 1 6 squared, which is 36. 4 sixths, and 5 36ths, which would be that. But why does b even have to be an integer? So now we're going to get weird. So first, let's say, what if I made b, if b is 2, we get binary. What if I made b negative 2? Well, if I make b negative 2, our first question is, what characters am I going to need to express numbers? Like in binary, I needed 0s and 1s to express any whole number. And I could even, if I'm using decimals, express other stuff with binary, just with 0s and 1s. Are 0s and 1s going to do the trick with b minus 2? Well, let's see what that even means. That means negative 2 to the 0 is 1. So this is how many 1s we have. Now, in this case, what I'm going to write up here is what the place means. So not how many we have. So this is how many 1s we have. This, b to the 1, is how many negative 2s we have. Whatever number we put there, if I put a 0, nothing gets added. If I put a 1 there, we subtract 2 from our end number. But b squared is how many 4s there are. Kind of goes back and forth a little bit. So in this called negative binary, essentially, we have different places. We have, if I make the number 111, it means 4 minus 2 plus 1. It gives me 3. 111 in base negative 2 is 3. And other ones have weird different combinations as we go back and forth between them being positive and negative. Like cubed is going to be a negative 8. Fourth is going to be a positive 16s and stuff. So that's already kind of a mind blower. And that's probably going to be a topic of a future episode, is what can we and can't we achieve with negative bases. But what I was realizing the other day is I'm almost more interested than the negative base is if we're going under binary, which is base 2 and going down. Well, base 1 kind of doesn't work because it means you're only using like a 0 character if it's a positional thing. You could say base 1 is like tally marks, but it's not base 1 in the same way binary is base 2. So assuming base 1's not that useful and that we would have to change the name to even include tally marks to work, well, what about other things between 1 and 2? What if my base is between 1 and 2? Well, what numbers are between 1 and 2? There's 3 halves, that's 1.5. You have or other ones like 4/3. You have we have the square root of 2, we have the cube root of 2, we have the golden ratio, we have square root of 3 is also in that range. And what if our base was one of those? So I tried to look this up online when I had that thought, and there's a little information. I'm sure there's a lot more online if I do digging, but at the first glance, I couldn't find that much information. So I realized, why don't we just try and figure out ourselves how to represent numbers with these? Now, the 3 halves and the 4/3, I'm actually going to save for later, but from what I read, with these 3 halves, you would need to use the numerator amount of characters. So I can treat this like ternary, where I'm using 0s, 1s, and 2s. This would maybe need to be treated as having the 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s. And then I could express every number with a combo of those, including after the decimal. And I could hit integers and make them work. But the even weirder thing is those, you're like, okay, it's a rational number. Makes sense. Maybe you could hit integers. But what about other ones? Like this is an irrational number. But root 2 is going to be the easiest to hit integers, because if we're in base root 2, Every other place is like a binary place. Squareds is like how many twos we have. Fourth powers is like how many fours we have. So it's like binary shifted over. So if I take a binary number and stick a bunch of zeros in between, I can get a base root 2 number. And it maybe gives me more options because then if I could express integers, but I could also express things that involve the square root of 2. I could make the number 1 plus root 2, but I could also just make the number 2. So that's an interesting one, base root 2. Cube root of 2, I think we would just have to maybe put more zeros in between. I think it would just be every third place, maybe. Would be, this would be like an extra stretched binary. And this would be like a stretched ternary, base 3. It would be like ternary, but every third place is it. Oh no, this would be every second place, but using zeros, ones, and twos. Because the square root makes us need to go every other place. Cube root would be every third place. And then this is the number that we're kind of like using the base of, but stretched. So those are all pretty cool. Oh, awesome. Someone's saying here that they found my channel suggested through Mathologer. I am a huge fan of Mathologer. I actually started donating to his Patreon, even though I don't have much money. I wanted to give him a few dollars because I am a huge fan of his work. And that also means that now in his end credits, you will see it say Demotro from Combo Class as a supporter. But in any case, Mathologer is one of my all-time favorite math channels. The only other math channel I would say might be like on its level on YouTube is 3 Blue 1 Brown, which is also magnificent. But Mathologer is maybe my favorite because it's just this like really smart, kind of silly, yet kind of culturally different German guy. So he has a slightly different type of silliness than I'm used to. And he comes up with really legitimate proofs that he publishes in the form of YouTube videos, which is something I really admire. Is like, why do you need to publish your proofs in a really official looking way? Why can't you make them in a YouTube video? If they are a proof of something that is worth copying and talking about, they will remain in history historically. So Mathologer is probably like one of my biggest, I would say inspirations for a math channel, but my channel is very different than him. So like my approach to making videos is a lot different, but he is one of my personal favorites. And I would love to chat with him someday, or work with him in some way. And we get some other comments noting about the like choose your own adventure books. Now, right now, the main fiction book I'm working on, I have a lot of half finished fiction books, but the one I'm working on right now is not a choose your own adventure. It didn't make sense to tell that way. It's about a prank war that may get multi-dimensional, but that one's not a choose your own adventure. But I have other choose your own adventure ones that are very awesome that I'm still working on finishing. And I might also, I'm like working on a book about Threvens and Throds while I learn so much stuff about them and just like compiling all my notes about Threvens and Throds. And I have a book worth, and I might try and make that a choose your own adventure too. I also want to make a just from scratch choose your own adventure math book where you build number sequences. I want to be like, okay, you got your natural numbers. You want to add them or you want to multiply them? You multiply them like down a line, you get your factorial page. You add them down the line, you get your triangular numbers page. So I want like a choose your own adventure book I make where you get to build all the integer sequences that are classic yourself. And yeah, choose your own adventure is awesome. And someone's saying they loved stand up maths video as well. And he is the other one I would put on the level. I mentioned him because of his book a minute ago, but I would put him as my other favorite math channel along with Mathologer and 3 Blue 1 Brown. He's awesome as well. In fact, I don't watch that many like TV shows or anything like that. But when one of those guys puts out a video, I usually have seen it like within a day because those guys, I love their content. So I've already seen the new stand up maths video about something whale related he did mathematically. And the latest Mathologer video is awesome. That one's about all sorts of Pythagorean theorem proofs. But what we're talking about now, as you know, I get sidetracked, but we're talking about bases. And these bases are super interesting. We kind of went over what these might look like, and those I will do more details about in the full episode. But I really want to look at the golden ratio base on the end right there. So what is the golden ratio? It's that classic number that we can say that it's a number that's the solution, one of the two solutions. The other is that it's reciprocal but negative. But it's basically the solution to x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0, or one of the solutions, meaning that if we send these over there, we see that it means in it x squared equals x plus 1, just by sending those over. Now, this also gives us all our other identities. If I divide this by x, I get that x equals 1 over x plus 1, because that one turns to 1 over x, that one turns to 1 when I divide by x. So it gives me a bunch of identities. I basically have that it squared is 1 more than itself, and that it's 1 more than its reciprocal, which is the name for 1 over it. So these are our cool identities we'll hang on to. And now the question is, what if I'm in the golden ratio base? So that means now that the golden ratio, which is like about 1.618, but it's an irrational number. And really, it's 1 plus the square root of 5 all over 2. And so that's something that is like a lot weirder than just square root of 2. So how the heck am I going to make an integer out of just powers of that? Well, if we try and approach it with this, we probably could algebraically do it, but we're going to have an easier time trying to make integers from it by messing around and substituting these somehow. Now, to make 1 is easy. I already know to make 1, we just have to stick the number 1 in b to the 0. Now, I do have a spoiler from what I read online, is that it is going to be possible somehow to make these integers with, okay, it's possible to make these integers using just zeros and ones. So now, you know how binary uses zeros and ones because those are less than 2? We're kind of saying like this is, 1.618-ish is our base. We're allowed to use zeros and ones, but they mean how many of a given power of that I have. So to make 1, it's easy. I just need to say there's a 1 in the b to the zeros, because in pretty much any positional base like this, the b to the zeros place is really easy to give you your 1. So we're going to say that 1 in the golden ratio base equals 1, and in these parentheses, I'm putting what base it's in base 10. So we've gotten our 1 in base 10 pretty easy. But what if we want to try and make 2? Now, the weird thing is that you would expect I need to subtract somehow. I need to like make an x squared and subtract some x's or something. But there should be a way to make this using just negative powers and positive powers. And the negative powers are just points after the decimal. So to try and make 2, what we're going to do is let's see how much a b squared is in terms of other stuff. So we said b squared because b is our golden ratio. So, okay, if we have 10 in the golden ratio base, 10 in the golden ratio base would mean b squared, which is x plus 1. So that not only equals golden ratio squared, but it also equals golden ratio plus 1, like we said. Now, maybe we'll try and substitute this in. Maybe we'll try and square this or something. What would happen if I square this? So if I square it that way, I'm going to get, no, that's going to be trickier. So let's see. To reiterate and go back, what we are going to try and do is see what balances out with a 10 in a way to kind of integerize it. So we have 10 is golden ratio plus 1. And so we want to come to make a 2. So 2 would be, if golden ratio squared is golden ratio plus 1, then 2 should be, well, let's say 2 plus the golden ratio should equal golden ratio squared plus 1. Is that going to help at all? Let's see. Feel free to leave any comments if anyone has any ideas of how we can approach this. Now, what we'll do now to try and offset it is I think it'll help if we see if that's what a 10 is, let's see what b minus 1 and b minus 2 are. So b minus, well, b minus 1, so that's 0.1. If I say 0.1 in the golden ratio base, that would mean I have 1 over the golden ratio. And that's also 1 less than the golden ratio. Golden ratio minus 1. Now, what if I have 0.01? If I have 0.01, then we have in the golden ratio base, that gives us that squared. So then we have 1 over golden ratio squared, which maybe we can make this somewhere else and substitute it. 1 over the golden ratio squared. So, So maybe we'll, if we want 1 over the golden ratio squared, let's say that that also equals golden ratio minus 1 all squared. And that was from this equation moving some stuff. So, which would equal golden ratio squared minus 2 golden ratio plus 1. So that is another thing that 0.01 is, which means if I try and substitute that or offset that here, I might be able to combine these ones somehow to get a 2. So golden ratio squared, we said, is golden ratio plus 1. So let's put that in there. We now have golden ratio plus 1 minus 2 golden ratio plus 1. And that gives us 2 plus minus golden ratio. So that's another thing that 0.01 is 2 minus golden ratio. And that means that, wait, this I did something weird. 10 is just the golden ratio. So wait, 10 in the golden ratio is just the golden ratio. So that was a different identity. Don't get those two confused. However, I think we're on to something because, and sorry, this is so sloppy, but like I said, this is my investigation for how to deduce stuff that I will put in a whole episode later. Now, here I've noticed that 0.01 is 2 minus the golden ratio. And that means that 10.01 is golden ratio plus 2 minus the golden is 2. 10.01 in the golden ratio base must be 2 in base 10. So we can, as we've seen, build integers. This may have all been confusing. I was doing some of that thinking in my head. But essentially, by substituting and messing with these equations enough, it does look like 10 is the amount that if you add 0.01, you get exactly 2, which is super trippy that you can just take golden ratios and inverses of golden ratios and powers of those, and they add up to integers. So we could also make further ones. 3 would actually be pretty easy because I think I just need to go 11.01. However, here's where it gets weird in the golden ratio base. So 3 I can call 11.01. Because now that took 2 and it added 1 in the ones place, the golden ratio to the zeros place. However, remember we said that golden ratio plus 1 equals golden ratio squared. If that's one of our identities, then in the golden ratio base, 1 can always be called 100 if there wasn't an extra 1 before that. Because this means a 1 and a golden ratio, and that means a golden ratio squared. And so they must be equal, because we said that with our identity. So 3 could be written 11.01, or I think it might be considered a better form, and I'll do research about what's more official, but I think a better form of it is the 100.01 for 3, because we know 11 can be called 100. Now, as for 4 and stuff, that would be a story for me to investigate later. I think that is enough of our golden ratio base for a minute. Hope people enjoyed the little lesson in how to problem solve. Um, and don't worry if it didn't make sense, because I will probably have maybe even a few episodes about this in the future, because I want to make one about bases between 1 and 2. And that could be the same or different episode from one that's about negative bases. Now, the weirdest one I realized is I was pondering base 1/2, which is sort of like a reciprocal binary. And what I was thinking, this is something I need to think deeper about before I put this in the episode, but this is just a wild hypothesis. I think that if you were in base -1, base 1/2, remember hyper 11s are what I call numbers in a given base that are just composed of the digit 1. If I had an infinitely long hyper 11 without anything after the decimal, but the positive pre-decimal part is an infinite amount of ones, but in base 1/2, I think that would just be approaching the limit of 2 with my infinitely long hyper 11. So I got to check more into that before I weave that thought into the episode. But when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because I love when my 3-vins pop up in random circumstances. And it turns out the hyper 11s love to pop up random places too. So whenever I'm investigating a topic, there's a pretty good chance there's going to be something related to my 3-vins or my hyper 11s or something like that. And by mine, I don't mean like I own them. They are mathematical things. No one owns these. But well, I did make up the term hyper 11, but there's many names for them, and I didn't invent the type of number. But hyper 11s are my name for them, and I realized they pop up all over. So, whenever the hyper 11s pop up, it's thrilling, and it was pretty cool to be like, maybe I found a case where in a different numerical base, an infinitely long hyper 11 equals a finite thing. So, thank you to the ones who enjoyed the lesson. And yes, you noticed the train. I do live not far from the train tracks, so we get that in the soundtrack once in a while. Now, I do need to charge my computer at some point. It's not going to last forever, and we just hit an hour. However, if people are hyped up enough, I might consider just running inside and continuing the stream in a bit. So, anyone who wants the stream to go more like another hour, leave a comment about that and I'll consider it. Or it might just go like 10 minutes if I don't go on a brief mission to run in and get the charger. In any case, here I got my gourds and I'm stuck at home on Halloween, well, on pre-Halloween. So good thing I already filmed all my pumpkin insanity, and too bad I didn't get to go hang out with my friends last night. So we are getting at least one fan of lasting longer. And yeah, someone's noting for anything between 0 and 1, an infinitely long hyper 11 will be finite. That I believe is true. I would have to make sure that's the range. Someone's asking about the story of the green spray painted chair. Yeah, so we had all these metal chairs. I kind of forget the detail on that. There was a reason why my brother or something was going to spray paint some chairs back in the day. Then they ended up just like getting back here or something. I kind of forget. I don't know. There's a lot of chairs around back here. Let me see how many chairs I can count. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 chairs. Because you never know. It's a combo class. Once in a while I have some random friends need to learn back here. Maybe someday I will even do combo meetups here, although if I do that in the near future, it'll probably be at a park. But as usual, if any of my combo lords are near the Bay Area, you can always feel to reach out, and there's always an off chance I could use your help filming some insanity. Although maybe not this week, because still not positive if I have COVID or not. I did test negative yesterday, but we'll see because I've been hyper exposed by accident by one after another of my family members getting it. So, someone is noting that they want one more hour, at least two people. And I think I will do that in a minute. And what this means is that when I go inside, I'm going to need to grab a few things. I'm going to need to get a power strip, a charger, a Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure, and some foreign flavors of Kit Kat. Yes, the comment was just in time. Someone mentioned the Choose Your Own Adventure right when I was noting it. So we will do that. However, here's the thing when I vanish, I'm going to need you guys for 5 minutes to keep yourself entertained without running away from the stream. So I'm going to have to come up with a good little debate question for you guys to have challenges on in the comments. So let me think of a good little problem solving question we can work with for a moment. Let's see. Let's try this. So, I want you guys to try and figure out while I run inside, how would I write the number 13? It's just a random Halloweeny number in any of these fractional bases. A few options you can try and figure out, and I'll write these as challenges. And you can just chat about also what you think the technique to approach this is we want 13 to be expressed in base, and these are a few different options. Base 3/2. How could we write that? And you have to use, essentially in a base like this, you have to see how few of characters is it possible to use to express numbers like this. And you're allowed to use things after a decimal point. So, which are, like we said, the negative powers. You got base 3/2, you got golden ratio base, you got base root 2, and you got base root 3. So here's your challenge. I want you to try and figure out, and we're going to say you got base 1/2, which you will be able to still make it if you use things after the decimal. So try and think about this for a moment, you all. Leave your comments and thoughts about how we could maybe make these. And I'm going to write a little back in 5 note here. And gotta hang on tight because when I'm back, I will have a Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure and some weird candies. All right. Love you all, and I will be back soon. Leave your thoughts. And we're coming back. All right, chargers will go here for now. We don't need them quite yet. What we do need quite yet is the bubble gun and the books. Well, actually, we don't really need the bubble gun, but won't hurt. And wow, we still got 9 combo lords hanging out, even when I vanished for 5 minutes. I love you guys so much. Genuinely, I really love you guys. Here we got our bubble gun, just for a little fun in the meantime. Yeah. And now, let's see if anyone had any cool thoughts about our bases. I think we got some cool thoughts there. I'm going to have to go through those later. But thank you for doing some good thinking. I'm sure that was great for your brains. To those of you who did or didn't stumble into any answers, trying to comprehend different bases is pretty good, because I do think when people say, is math invented or discovered? Well, that's a philosophical thing we may never fully know. However, it's one of, the deeper questions. What is the universe made of? Math or something else? Ooh, big question. But there are numbers existent somewhere, I think. I think 2 plus 2 is 4. But I think it's highly unlikely that if we encounter any aliens or things like that, that they would count in tens. Tens are not that good. So good to do a little thinking about other numerical bases and ways that patterns could hold for another species that deals with integers in their brain, but doesn't necessarily write them like us. So things we have right here are the pumpkins I showed you. Those are all, well, here, let's go to our little chaos corner with all my props. So here we got pumpkins. Here we got rare Kit Kat flavors, like I mentioned. Shout out to my friend. I guess I won't say his name yet, but later maybe I'll tell you more about my friends if they want. And this was basically my best friend, who I have a few friends in my squad who really have had my back over the years, who I love dearly. And as much as I love all you fans, I have a couple of friends who are like family to me. And they are part of what has helped me gain my pride and confidence and hard work ethic to make this all work. And they also sometimes give me weird things like this, which was, oh no, I dropped one. Interesting Kit Kat flavors from Japan. And some of them, like I said, I already ate the ones that had clear names. When he gave them to me, we shared a bunch of them. But the ones that have names just in Japanese, some you can guess based on the picture. And other ones are a little vaguer. Like this one might be like a green tea or a matcha or something, but I don't know. And then this one like has some K-pop star on there, I think, or some boy band member. So cool. Maybe like one of the BTS guys or something. I'm sorry, I don't know. But yeah, these ones could be interesting. Maybe we'll try these in a bit. Like, what flavor is this? It shows a picture of like what looks kind of like a trash can, but probably is meant to be something else. And yeah, there's some interesting ones. Now, if anyone does know how to read these, I think they're in Japanese. If anyone knows how to read them, you can feel free to let me know. I might not want the spoiler immediately, but it might be good to look it up after. Now, those aren't going to come first, though, because first we got some Goosebumps that was requested. Now, I brought 3 Goosebumps books, but I already kind of have my eye on one. So first I'll show you the ones we might do later or another day. A few I grabbed off my shelf are, we got number 14, The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock. We also got number 20, Toy Terror, batteries included. But the one that I kind of had my eye set because it looked the most Halloween-y, and these are just some of many. He has made 50 of them, and I collected probably about half of them as a kid that I still have. The one that we may read today is number 19, Escape from Camp, Run for Your Life, because that seemed the most Halloween-y. Now, I don't know how publishing rights and stuff like this goes, so I'm sure R.L. Stine wouldn't mind, but if someone from Scholastic gets angry about this, your books are out of print anyway. I'm just trying to share the message of your books, and I won't read the whole thing on stream, so don't get mad at me. I'm reading your book to try and promote it. And I know R.L. Stine would probably be happy, because I think R.L. Stine's great. He was one of my favorites as a kid. I mentioned this on a previous stream, but I got to mention it again. This guy, R.L. Stein, he used to go by, so his name's Robert Lawrence Stein. He used to go by Jovial Bob and write joke books for kids. And then one year he just decides, oh, no, switching to R.L. Stein for my initials, and I'm going to scare kids instead of making them laugh. Just like 180 flip. So he just like stopped making joke books and started making books to scare kids. And I like it. And let's remember as we read this that he claims that he never actually shows a death scene because that would be too far to put in a kid's book. And I'm going to just say that he implies it so obviously that he basically does show the death scenes. But I don't mind. Come on. What's wrong with scaring a few kids? They're the ones who decided to buy the book. I bought the books and I wanted to get spooked. So, what we're going to do is we're going to read one or two paths from this. Now, the beginning, you don't get paths right away, so you're just going to listen to me read for a minute. Then, when I say a choice, just like comment the main word from the choice that you want me to do. And then I'm imagining like 3 or 4 of you might comment each time. We'll see if we all agree, we'll go there. If there's differing opinion, we'll go to either what has the most votes or what I'm leaning toward. But we may remember the other paths in case we die too quick and need to jump back to a different path. So we're going to start out right at the beginning of Escape from Camp Run for Your Life. Now, what I got to remind you guys is you got to get your mind frame in a Halloweeny mood where it is spooky and cheesy at the same time, because sometimes the writing is so clunky that you can't not laugh at how he tries to describe things. But there are some genuine spooks we could have in it too if we're open minded. So, we can try and feel a little dramatic, although you may also catch me laughing at some of the writing choices. Now, let's start from the beginning. What's really fun is to do this at a campfire and take turns with friends who reads it. It's fun to like pass it to someone and make them read a page. But here we go. I'm the only reader today. All right, you say to yourself. 10 minutes ago, it looked as if you were facing another boring day at home. All the kids in your neighborhood are away at summer camp. All but you. Your parents decided to take you on a family vacation instead, to your grandparents' farm. Boring. But your mom and dad just got an urgent call to join a dig for dinosaur bones in Mongolia. They're leaving in the morning. We'll be away for a month, your mom says. Sorry, sweetie, but we'll have to send you to Camp Pendleton after all. I guess I'll live, you reply, hiding your grin. Yes, Pendleton is a sports camp. You love sports. You wanted to go to Pendleton ever since your Uncle Ed told you about it. It's got the latest equipment and the best coaches. You quickly call Uncle Ed with the good news. He promises to take care of all the arrangements. He'll even drive you there. The next morning, Uncle Ed arrives. Your parents are rushing around, getting ready to leave. They kiss you goodbye and remind you to be careful. Oh, don't worry about me, you reply. What could go wrong? Now, there are little bits at the bottom that say things like, nothing, right? Ha! Turn to page 2. But I'm going to skip those. They're not as necessary. I'm just going to roll through the story until we hit a choice. But sometimes at the beginning, we got to get a little story before our first choice. I'm psyched, you announce as you slide into Uncle Ed's station wagon. You're going to have a great time, Uncle Ed declares. Your uncle usually doesn't talk much about himself. You aren't even sure what he does for a living, but you do know he likes sports. That's what you talk about on the way to Camp Pendleton. Only it's taking forever to get there. It's out in the boondocks. All the roads here look the same. You stop for a snack. Uncle Ed makes a quick phone call. When he starts the car again, he pulls out onto the road, going in the wrong direction. Uncle Ed, you say, I think you're going the wrong way. Nah, Uncle Ed says, I've got a great sense of direction. You spot an old man in front of a lone house in the woods. Pull over, Uncle Ed, you urge. Let's ask. Sports camp, the old man frowns. There's a camp about a mile away. He gives Uncle Ed instructions to get there. If you pass the gas station, you'll know you've gone too far. See, I told you I knew where I was going, Uncle Ed says. A minute later, Uncle Ed turns down a dirt road. He pulls up to a military-looking gatehouse. A big sign says, Welcome to Camp Running Leaf. Huh? Where's Camp Pendleton? You cry. Uncle Ed only shrugs. He doesn't seem very upset. A beefy guy with a crew cut, a white shirt, and a whistle around his neck approaches your car. I'm Coach Rex, he says. Are you a new camper? No, I'm looking for Camp Pendleton, you answer. Coach Rex clears his throat. This was Camp Pendleton. A new owner just took over and changed the name to Running Leaf. So everything is okay, right? You say goodbye to Uncle Ed. He shakes hands with Coach Rex. Work this youngster hard, he orders. Oh, I'm a slave driver. I'm sorry, I'm reading the text out here. That's a little weird phrasing, but I'm just reading the Goosebumps book. Oh, I'm a slave driver, Coach Rex answers with a chuckle. Coach Rex and Uncle Ed laugh like two old friends. Coach Rex leads you to a cabin. He points out an empty bunk and you drop your stuff on it. Think you're a hot shot athlete? He shouts. Surprised, you stutter. No, I just like sports. Coach Rex barks. We don't put up with wimps here. He gives you the once over. You don't look very strong. You thought you were in pretty decent shape, but let's arm wrestle, Coach Rex demands. What's his problem? He seemed so friendly a minute ago. You sit at opposite sides of a table. Coach Rex pins your arm in an instant. He looks disappointed. Kid, you don't have what it takes, he announces, but you will, and soon. It sounds more like a threat than a promise. Suddenly, Coach Rex brightens. The first thing for you to do is choose one of two events to take part in. One event is an overnight hike and fossil hunt in the woods around the camp. You love camping out. Sounds cool. The other event is called the Selection. It's a series of athletic events. The winner gets a special prize. So, which are you going to choose? Do we want to do the hike or the selection? I'm waiting to see if we get any more thoughts. We have a selection vote so far and a hike vote. Who wants to be the tiebreaker and see where we go first? We got another hike. Oh, we're 2 for 2. We need another tiebreaker. We're 3 for okay, hike is in the lead. Okay, so guys, selection fans, remember the number 125. That's 5 cubed, so should be pretty easy to remember. 5 cubed. That's the page the selection starts on. So if we don't end up having a fun time on the hike, you can remember, selection fans, to recommend page 125. But for now, we're going hiking. Now, I am a fan of hiking. I will admit I like this choice because good old nature. Let's see what happens on this hike, though. I'll try the hike, you decide. Okay, meet Coach Crump at the equipment shed, Coach Rex orders. He points out the shed to you. Get going, camper. 4 other kids are already waiting at the equipment shed when you get there. A dark haired girl with braces smiles at you. I'm Tracy, she says. I'm going on the hike too. The other kids introduce themselves as Samantha, Al, and Ted. Samantha, a tall, strong looking girl, beckons all 4 of you closer. I've heard some strange things about this hike, she whispers. They say some kids don't come back from it. Then why are you going? Al asks. I want to win the outdoors medal, Samantha replies calmly. You smile to yourself. Camps always have silly, scary stories. You know Samantha's only trying to psych out the competition, but you're a good hiker. You plan to win that medal yourself. Here comes another hiker, Ted exclaims. You glance up and see someone running toward the shed. Oh no, you groan. You know the person running toward the shack. Her name is Kim. She goes to your school back home. You've disliked her since you did a geography project together. Kim complained the whole time. Even worse, you had to do all the work. I don't believe this, she exclaims when she catches sight of you. Of all the camps in the whole country, I end up at the same one as you. Great, she's already complaining, you think. A pale, heavy-set man in a white shirt comes puffing up. I'm Coach Crump, he says. Okay, listen up, campers. The point of the hike is to earn your outdoors medal. He reaches in his pocket and pulls out a shiny disc. This is the medal, he says. He holds it up. It gleams in the sunlight as if it's made of gold. A small figure is carved on it. Can't quite make out what it is. Cool, you murmur. You reach for the medal to examine it more closely. Coach Crump snatches it away. Hands off, he thunders. I just wanted to see the medal, you gasp, shocked. Not till you've completed the hike, Coach Crump bellows. He leans over. Understand? He says right in your face. This guy's weird, you think. You wonder if you've made the wrong choice. To earn your medals, you must be able to read a map and get around in the wilderness, Coach Crump goes on. He holds up a map and points to a mountain. You must find Zombie Cave here on Zombie Mountain and remove a bone from it as proof you were there. Zombie Mountain? Excellent. You love spooky stuff. A bone, Kim exclaims. Ew. The cave is full of bones, Coach Crump declares. Human bones, he adds with a smile. Now he passes out maps, one to each kid. After you leave Zombie Cave, he continues, we'll all meet at the campsite on Zombie Mountain. Cool, you think? First a spooky fossil hunt, then a campout. This is going to be great. One more thing, Coach Crump adds. He glares from camper to camper. Watch out for zombies. You crack up. There's no such thing as zombies, you snort. Are you sure? Coach Crump narrows his eyes at you. Why do you think they call it Zombie Mountain? You know he's just fooling, but he sounds awful serious. What do zombies look like? Kim asks. They're the walking dead, Coach Crump replies. They crave living flesh. A zombie's bite will turn you into a zombie. You and Al snicker. It's not funny, Coach Crump says solemnly. Every year we lose a few campers to zombies. Okay, the coach is just trying to make the hike more fun, but isn't he going a little overboard? Ted pipes up. I've heard stories about a strange guy who lives on Zombie Mountain. They call him the Cemetery Man. Crump scowls. He doesn't exist, he snaps. Okay, people, the gear is in the shed. Take what you need and get started. You take a sleeping bag, pack, food, and flashlight. Coach Crump hands out a map and a box labeled Survival Kit. You're turning to go when the coach stops you. Wait, he exclaims. I forgot to tell you the most important thing of all. No matter what, you must reach the campsite by midnight. What happens if we're late, you ask? Are the zombies going to get us? Al adds, grinning. They might, the coach glares at Al, or they could just as easily get you earlier. But if you're late, you're disqualified. No outdoors medal for you. We won't be late, you all chorus. You'll be safer hiking in pairs, Crump says. As soon as you've chosen partners, start the hike. See you at the campsite. You see that Samantha's already paired up with Al. Ted and Tracy are starting down the trail together. That leaves you with Kim. No way, you think. She's lazy. She's a complainer. Besides, you're a good hiker. You don't need a partner. On the other hand, Coach Crump told you to pair up. So what do you do? Do we go with Kim or do we go alone? All right, folks, time to vote. We going with the complainer or we going all alone? We got to vote for alone. Any other votes? Looking alone-y so far. Oh, we got a lot of alones. We got two Kims. Okay, Kim's catching up. Alone is still in the lead. We got 3 alones and 2 Kims. All right. Kim, okay, 3 and 3. Next one is the tiebreaker. So we got 3 and 3. Next one's the tiebreaker. Who wants to vote, Alone or Kim? If it stays tied, we might need to roll a die or something. So I think that's the same person. We have 3 and 3 different people. So we need a tiebreaker from someone who hasn't commented yet to break the tie. Otherwise, we're gonna have to roll this dice and see. This dice is going to be 1 through 3 is Kim and 4 through 6 is Alone. All right, looking like the dice needs to break the tie. Ready to see this dice? Okay. Can you see it? Here, I want to make it visible. Okay, we'll roll it on the book. Whoa! Okay. It is a 3. We're going with Kim. All right, folks. Once again, I'll tell you the page. Uh-oh, I lost myself. Where were we? Once again, I'll tell you the page number, and then you are going to save that in case something goes bad with the Kim deal. The non-Kim option, just to save for later, sorry, I'm refinding the page, is That is 14. So remember page 14 if we need to return to hike alone. We're going with Kim for now, though. Page 118. You sigh. All right, let's team up, you say to Kim. You watch while she studies the map. You hate to admit it, but it's true. Kim is a much better map reader than you. Zombie Cave is on the other side of Zombie Mountain, she remarks, pointing to a squiggle on the map. Also, the campsite's on the same side of the mountain as the cave, she continues. They look close to each other. So let's get started, you say impatiently. Wait, Kim cautions. According to the map, there are two ways to get to the cave. We could take the main trail up over the mountain, but it's very steep. What's the other way, you ask? The other way is to follow the river around the mountain, she explains, but it's much longer. Also, she squints at the map, there are some strange markings I can't figure out. You glance at the map. X's line the riverbank. You decide. Oh no, she says, you decide. Which route seems easiest? Kim asks you. You study the map. Both routes look tough to you. Which route do we take? The mountain or the river? Okay, guys, mountain versus river. We got one of each. We got two mountains and a river. I love how balanced it always is. I love how people have different opinions on these. We got two mountains and two rivers. Mountains, someone might fall. We got three mountains and two rivers. Four mountains, looking tough on the river, folks. Looking like mountains about to win. So, unless we get any tie changes, mountains going ahead. For any river fans, that is page 2 to the 4th powers. So 2 to the 4th power gets you to the river page. However, the mountain page, we're going to the prime number 113. Don't ask how I remember that's a prime. So, you and Kim toil up the mountain. It takes all afternoon, but the most tiring part of the hike isn't the climbing. It's listening to Kim complain. At least you spot what you came for. In the face of the cliff is a dark, forbidding hole. Zombie Cave. A trail leads down to it from where you are. You and Kim hike down the steep trail. About halfway down, you hear a strange noise. A combination cough and growl. What's that? Kim asks nervously. Zombies, you reply in a spooky voice. Kim shrieks. Just kidding, you tell her, grinning. As you continue down, you hear the sound again. Seems to be following you. Ignore it, you tell Kim. You're almost at the cave mouth. You run ahead of Kim and enter the cave alone. But when you see what's waiting inside, you freeze. Kim comes up behind you. What's wrong? She asks. Zombie, you stammer. Oh, please, Kim snaps. I mean, do I look that stupid? You'd like to answer that question, but you're speechless because the creature in the cave is the nastiest thing you've ever seen. Gashes cover its colorless face. Its eyes are dead. It smells dead. No, you cry. It really is a zombie. The thing takes several steps toward you. Ah, it moans. Ah, Kim screams. Sorry, we took a wrong turn, you tell the undead monster. You begin backing out the way you came. The zombie staggers toward you. Run, you order Kim. The zombie lumbers along after you. It doesn't run fast, but it doesn't tire either. How can you escape? You wonder frantically. Then you have an idea. Climb up the cliff, you shout at Kim. Are you crazy? She cries. It's a cliff. Would you rather get caught by the zombie? You ask. Enough said. The two of you start climbing up the cliff. You pull yourself frantically up. Your arms ache. You glance down. The zombie's trying to climb the cliff too, but it's clumsy. Its rotting fingers can't grasp the rocks. Finally, it seems to give up. You hang there, halfway up the cliff, and watch as it vanishes into the trees. Whew, I think it's gone, you tell Kim. Come on, let's head back down the cliff. You've almost reached the bottom when you hear a growl. Crouched in the path is a mountain lion. The big cat's yellow eyes gaze hungrily at you. Uh-oh, head back up, you whisper. But just as you inch up the cliff, a huge boulder bounds down the slope, just missing you. The zombie, Kim cries. It must have climbed up the trail. It's up at the top of the cliff. You duck as another boulder hurtles past your ear. Let's get out of here, Kim cries. Great idea, you think, but where to? If you head down, the mountain lion will attack. And if you climb up, you'll have to face the zombie. Do we go down toward the mountain lion or do we go up toward the zombie? All right, down comments for facing a mountain lion, up comments for facing a zombie. We got 2 downs. We got fans of Kim getting eaten. Yes, they didn't write her to be very likable. Oh, we got a tie as usual. 2 ups and 2 downs. All right, any tiebreakers coming? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And down 1, 4-2. So we got a bunch of downs. So we're going to page 101, which also is a prime. 101's an interesting prime. You'd much rather face a mountain lion than a walking corpse, you think. You glance at the mountain lion again. It kind of reminds you of your cat, Smokey, back home. We can handle the cat, you tell Kim confidently. You pace toward the beast. Here, kitty, kitty, you croon. Kim stays a couple of steps behind you. The mountain lion's yellow eyes don't blink. It crouches there, its tail twitching. You're starting to wonder if this was such a good idea. The beast still reminds you of Smokey when she's getting ready to kill a mouse. You gulp. Maybe you should go back up. Too late. Before you've gone 3 steps, the big cat springs. What happens next? Well, we'd rather not go into details, but we'd be lying if we said it wasn't the end. All right, that one you did skip the death scene in favor of making a pun, but we died. Okay, thank you to all the fans of the Goosebumps live stream. We're gonna take a pause on that to chat now that we died, but you guys remember the other pages, so maybe before the stream's over, we'll test out one other option that we skipped over. Because there are good endings in them too, although there's varying types. There's like a few endings where like everything's successful, and then there's usually a bunch that are like in the middle where you get like some miniature curse for the rest of your life, but you're not dead or something. And then there's a lot where you die. So, unfortunately, that happened. Sometime we'll read the really crazy ones where there's only one good ending and you just always die unless you do a really calculated path. Um, yeah, so we weren't able to face the lion, unfortunately. So, let's see if anyone wants to guess what any of these flavors of weird candy are. We're not going to do a huge candy day today because tomorrow's Halloween and we might stream then too. But somebody can pick a color or a type and we'll see what it tastes like. And they're falling everywhere. These are our, I'll just share them because they're kind of interesting, the ones that didn't have translations. You got, oh, it's typing here. You got, it's typing weird stuff because they fall on the keyboard. Okay. You got ones that are just colors. We got Save the Blue Ocean. It says Save the Blue Ocean. So I wonder what that is. We've got some more colors. This one has colors with a different font. This one also some more colors. They also have some little like games and grids on the back. This one has a Halloween on it. Oh, that's perfect. I didn't even realize one was Halloween themed. Yeah, come on, baby. Pumpkins. Check out that berry on there. Is it? How do we get it to focus? Okay. Check out that berry. That's what I'm talking about. Then we got this one with a weird little trash can on it. We got one that has a little picture of what it might be. And we got the boy band ones. So somebody wants to go back without Kim. We'll see. Maybe we'll get to that later today. And how about this? I'll keep this book around during some future live streams, just in case anyone's in the comments ever is like, choose your own adventure time. I might be easily convinced. we got a recommendation for Save the Ocean and for Halloween one. So yeah, and an orange one. We'll test those ones out. This one might have been what you meant by orange. I don't know. This one's like, it has a little trash can in the corner. I don't know what that means. The trash can's like sweating. It's like thirsty. Like, ah. So who knows what that is? There's also a little grid on the back. We could do some cool little math puzzles on there. Let's use this grid real quick to demonstrate. You know what this grid can fit? One of the most classic things in math, which is that if you go 3 down on a grid and you go 4 over, that your diagonal is an integer, is 5 long. The 3, 4, 5 triangle. One of the most classic fundamental things in math. Because if you look at, imagine this. Imagine you're drawing circles on a grid. And your circles are going with a radius of integers. So I have radius 1, radius 2, radius 3, radius 4, radius 5, and so on. Now, of course, it's going to be hitting integer points on the x and y axis right here. But does it hit any other integers on the way? Any? Well, like 1, 1 doesn't get hit. The point 1, 1's like there. So that doesn't get hit. However, the points 3, 4, and 4, 5 are on there. And all these clones of them. So the 3, 4, 5 triangle is super cool and fundamental. You can base all Pythagorean triples off it. There are formulas you can start with it and then make a web that leads to all the others. And it is such an efficient use of 3 integers fitting in a triangle like that, that for what we can call integer Pythagorean triangles, like a right triangle with integer sides, sometimes just called Pythagorean triangles, but sometimes that doesn't imply integer. For integers, the 3, 4, 5 has an area of 6, so efficient that it's small but gets integers, that the next one is 5, 12, 13. And there's other like next ones, but almost the second smallest is like that scaled up, 6, 8, 10. And the 5, 12, 13 is even like more area than that. So the 3, 4, 5 is so efficient that even the 6, 8 is one of the smallest, which is it doubled. Now, I got to plug it in my laptop, but luckily I did bring my charger right there. So I will just chat from here while we get this going. And we can make any final requests for any other candies you want. I wonder what they taste like. Oh, oops. All right. Chaos Land. Alrighty. Only one moment, guys. All right, we need to remove our whole station. Relocation time. I need to be closer to the outlet. So, can't put my computer on my desk. Let me get one of those 11 chairs I mentioned. All right. Now time for our candy taste test. Okay. So, first we got the right triangle. I put on an orange one. So, let's see what the orange one with a little trash can on it looks like. Someone says they won't ask why I have 11 chairs, and also a recommendation for the boy band candy. I'll get those ones too. So this, we got like a miniature little whitish speckled one. So that's interesting. Tastes pretty good, but to be honest, most of the flavors just taste like white chocolate, which isn't bad. Wait, actually, this one has something. This one's like has some other perfumey, almost coffee-like aftertaste. This one is it's like butterscotch or something. So that was pretty. Actually, yeah, the main bite of that wasn't that good, but the aftertaste was really good. That's interesting. You know what I want to try on stream sometime or in a video? You guys heard of those miracle berries where you get these little pills that are derived from a natural berry and you eat them or let them dissolve in your mouth somehow and they change how your mouth perceives taste for a while. And a lot of people like drink vinegar and stuff because it tastes sweet for a bit and then their like stomach really hurts later. But I really want to try that out. I want to check out that miracle berry taste changing thing. That'll be insane. So I need to order some of those. I also, okay, guys, that's something I'm gonna put on this stream that you might think is funny. Not today, but another day. Is you know those world's hottest chip things? Well, one of my brother's friends, who's also basically my friend, like my brother's 9 years younger than me, but we get along really well and hang out and have some interests in common and stuff. And so our friends are often like kind of each other's friends too. And one of his friends, who's also kind of my friend, gave me a world's hottest chip. He just knew I would be the type of guy to be up for challenges like that. The ones that come in a little coffin box and are like a challenge to even eat one chip. And I think that'll really mess me up. I used to think I was good at handling hot food, and I think I just like challenging myself, but I'm not necessarily like better at handling it. I just like enjoy challenges. But I so I'm not going to eat the whole thing, I don't think. But I have some friends who are down to share it with me on video or maybe on stream. So maybe the first appearance you'll see of some of my friends will eat the world's hottest chip together and see how much it destroys me. In the Halloween special dropping tomorrow, I did take a nice bite out of a jalapeno pepper because those are berries. But so if you're used to a pickled jalapeno, it's not nearly as hot as a raw one. But this one was like not the hottest raw one I've ever had. They really range based on ripeness and stuff. So I took like half a jalapeno and a bite and it wasn't too bad. But you got to be careful. You never know. So in any case, someone's saying ghost pepper chip for 100K subs. I'll probably do it before that, but I'm not going to eat the whole thing on my own. I'll do it with friends. And who knows when we'll hit 100K subs. Let's see where the channels are at. It's just insane how they're flying up. It's magical. Now, of course, I care more about my main channel. So the fact that that passed 10K, I actually care more about than the fact that the bonus channels passed 20K or the TikTok is now at 33K and stuff like that. Short videos are fun, live streams are fun, but the main channel where I just put the full episodes, that I'm extra proud has passed 10,000. But let's see where this channel's at. Like I don't have it pulled up right here because it's flying up like a maniac. We are at this morning. I made a okay, 1 week ago, I made a thank you for 10,000 subscribers here. And then some of the shorts just kept flying up. And it's kind of interesting that some of the shorts that blew up on TikTok when I posted them there also, I was like, that's kind of random that that was the one that blew up compared to other ones. But they must have had something subtle about them that actually was extra catchy because they were often the same ones that blew up on both apps compared to other ones. So, like, I have this one about a divide by zero error that was 10 days ago on here, past 1 million views now. And that was also, weirdly enough, the one that did best on TikTok. So there must be like something about certain ones of them that made them catchier. And it's also weird to me because in a choose your own adventure fiction book that's a mirror of my own life that I'm writing, that's a huge, intense project I'm working on, that I care a lot about, is begins with a divide by zero error. So the fact that that was the video that really helped my channels blow up was kind of weird to me. There's also a lot of stuff about dice in those books, and the dice videos always help me blow up. So my life mirrors things in weird ways. Now, of course, this doesn't mean there's some secret magical psychic pattern going on, but I do believe that coincidences can be meaningful and awesome and reveal cool patterns. So there's some interesting patterns between stuff I write about and stuff that happens to me. And whether they're coincidental or not, they're fun. Now, we'll try one or two more of these. I'm actually not really in the mood for something super sweet right now, but let's try the ones that were recommended, which was the pumpkin one. And I hope there's like pumpkin pie or something interesting. Now, let's see. This one looks like the outside's white again, but the inside, instead of speckled, looks orange on the inside, maybe. So let's check out if it's actually orange on the inside. It's not. I don't know why it looked orange. This one is like, it is pumpkin pie. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know when I brought out candy because I was just bringing it because I was like, do I have any candy? It's Halloween. That's a good stream thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I have these. But it has a pumpkin on it and it's pumpkin pie flavored. So even more Halloweeny. Now, I should try and do something cool with the other pumpkins I bought because I bought like $40 of fruit and vegetables to film my Halloween special because it involves a lot of botanical berries. And I'll just say the watermelon and the biggest pumpkin didn't survive, but I ate a lot of bruised fruit after that, of the ones that have survived. Reminder for people who see destruction of food in my videos, I actually try and eat all of the remainder afterward that's like edible. Um, I only waste stuff once in a while for the sake of learning because I gotta trick more people into learning math. But remember to try not to be wasteful. Remember, conserving things and only taking what you need is good for the planet. So, sometimes it takes a little chaos to build the structure of peace. And so, maybe it'll take a little bit of destruction of eggs and destruction of watermelons before someday I've convinced the whole world to spend more effort on nature conservation, which is actually one of my big goals with Combo Class, not just about learning, and not just about normalizing how numbers are everywhere. It's also about, there's other things I want to achieve with it. So, yeah, I'll get carried away with that. Let's try one more candy. Someone's saying hottest hot sauce at 1 mil. I will be down to try weird hot thing challenges. I have eaten plenty of wild things in the day. Just wait until you guys see my episode about citrus peels. Because I'm going to do a flashback of a time I ate 3 lemons in a row with the peels. So I've done a lot of wild ones. I've eaten a whole onion raw. I have footage of that. And when I ate the onion, the first time I filmed, the filming cut off and it didn't get the whole clip. And I was like, fuck, I really want this footage of me eating an onion. So I ate a second onion. And the onion's actually really intense. Like an onion's like as bad as a hot pepper in a different way to eat the whole thing. Someone says Combo Class infamous plant destruction show. So yeah, once again, a reminder that you may see destruction, but the overall goal is destruction only to teach and to make room for new growth. Sometimes you need to destroy to have room for growth. But I really do believe in loving plants and caring for plants. So even though you see me act chaotic and careless around here, know that I love and respect my plants. For example, there's a plant right here that despite all of the chaos and antics in the Combo Class, I always keep the staghorn fern safe. I always make sure that plant doesn't take any damage if possible, because that plant's been here since we moved in. It's chained to the fence and gets all its nutrients just from itself and from being stuck on the wood. And I think I'm supposed to maybe mist it with water, so I'm going to try that to see if it gets greener. But it's just lived on its own and made these fronds and been this awesome plant that's growing off the wall called a staghorn fern that aren't super common. And I love that. And I've kept it safe because I love nature. And that's one of my friend nature plants here. And it also has a bunch of my grandmother's ashes I sprinkled on it last year. So sometimes one of my friends like leans on the staghorn fern. And I'm not the biggest fan of people leaning on it because it's like my special plant. And they'll be like, oh, sorry. And I'll kind of just deadpan be like, oh, it's all good, but you are touching my dead grandma. And like I'm not offended at all by it, but it's I don't know, gets people a little whoa. Someone's saying, can I show it again? Yeah, one sec. I have this handful of candy that's now dirty. So I need more play. Okay. Yes. Luckily, I had this for when I was dressed. Oh, luckily, I had this for when I was dressed as a clock. So, bull. Yes, I will show the staghorn fern again. So let's see what's a full view of this classroom. Let's see what's going on here. There's my equation wall. There is the vortex by the bottom of the slanted desk. Back here, you got a little secret corner hallway. Got a bunch of clocks. And we got my staghorn fern. Pretty cool, huh? See how it's not even in the dirt? All right. So I did read online when I was researching it that possibly it'll get greener if I spray a like mist bottle at it, like not water it with a hose, but in some misting way. So I'm gonna look that up more and maybe try that. Maybe I'll get it even greener. But it has been self-sufficient and it is incredibly cool. Let's see. God, I really hope I'm not catching COVID, but there's a good chance because my whole family got it. So we'll have to see. I'm planning on not filming anything new this week and then catching up on filming. I mean, I'm going to film a bunch of clips of myself, but I can't get a whole episode on my own. So luckily, I still have 2 to edit and put out. Halloween special tomorrow, and then Hyper Dice. Now, the Hyper Dice episode I'm going to drop in like a week. That one's a big, intense episode. It's like 22 minutes or 23 minutes. It's probably the longest full episode yet. And it has a lot of math. It has an arts and crafts corner. It has a 4 elements cutscene involving fire, earth, and water and stuff, and a lot more math. It's a really crazy episode. Um, and yes, plants. Combo class is very pro plant. Now, here's the thing: I wanted to make more videos talking about botanical stuff. I don't automatically know as much botany as I know math, but I love reading stuff about it. So I wanted to like learn more about all the plants in my ecosystem and make videos about them and the animals and stuff. And I still plan on that, but I've been stuck at home with all these surgeries I had to get and stuff. So before long, I'm going to take my streams and my videos down to the marina and down to this place called Tilden Park and other places around Berkeley that have really cool wildlife. And we're going to see all the great plants and stuff. Now, back here, I also could plant some more plants. And my front yard has a lot of nice ones. So that's good. In the front yard right now, we got guavas. Someone's asking my favorite tree and asking how do I talk about dice for 20 minutes. Well, let me just say this. It's not about probability of dice, but it is about what possible dice shapes could be perfect in not just our dimension, but in other dimensions. Now, someone's saying thoughts on mushrooms. They're also very cool. We also love fungi here in combo class. The fungus kingdom is also very amazing and worth a lot of respect. And my favorite tree, I couldn't pick one. I'm fond of fruit trees, of fruits I really enjoy. So there's something special about like a cherry tree or an apricot tree or a peach tree. Something pretty special about those. But I don't know. There's a lot of cool types of tree. One of the fun ones around here you can catch while hiking is the manzanita tree, the little apple tree. And they do make these little apple like things, but the most interesting thing about it is the bark, which peels. And they have this outer layer that once it peels and reveals this soft interior, makes really interesting patterns in the process. So that's a pretty cool plant around here. Someone's saying they love nectarines. Nectarines are cool, and stone fruits and also in general. I'm going to say berries and stone fruits are pretty unbeatable. In fact, my family planted an apricot tree that was just like this tall last year, and I have good hopes for it because it made 3 mini, really delicious apricots on its first little year, or maybe second year because we bought it when it was already this tall. But it made these little apricots, and now I'm hoping it makes more apricots. And I want to work with a stone fruit grafter to come here and attach some cherries on it because you can graft stone fruits. You can someday in the combo castle. Outside the combo castle, there's going to be some crazy mutant trees. Like the apple trees will have like 5 types of apple on each. The stone fruit trees will have like cherry, nectarine, apricot on this one. This one's peach, plum, almond can be on there. Stone fruits you can do crazy stuff with. And a cashew tree. Yeah, those are wild. Someone's mentioning those. I want to make a video about those someday if I can find one. So cashews are so expensive because they're a tiny part of like a massive fruit that has to break off and be dried and all this crazy stuff. And the main part of the cashew is an apple thing this big that I think can be poisonous if you eat it at the wrong time and or don't prepare it in some way. Maybe there might be ways it's not poisonous, but there are times or ways it is poisonous. And it's this massive thing called a cashew apple that has a little cashew on the end of one cashew per cashew apple. So when you see a picture of that, it's no surprise that they're expensive. Nuts like that are good. I do have to say cashew is probably tied with pistachio for my favorite nut. And whoa, someone's saying the biggest cashew tree is massive. Um, And so, yeah, lots of cool comments about plants. Now, we will also look in my front yard for more plants in the near future. Like I've mentioned, one thing that's blossoming is the prickly pear fruits on a cactus plant in my yard. And when you try and pick those, you got to be careful because if you see them at a store, they've done something to remove these micro needles. So not only do they have big spines like a cactus, but they have little micro splinters that if you touch, they like get in your hand like splinters and are evil. And so I'm going to have to wear gloves and be really careful for an upcoming snack break where we're going to, when they're ready, which might be a few more months, uh, get some cactus fruit and cut inside it, the prickly pear fruits. Now I got to look into whether there's a way to eat any of the cactus itself that I have, because some types of cactus you can also cook and eat, but I need to research this one more. As usual, if you see me eat anything weird, it is not a recommendation to copy. Remember that all my numbers are factual and correct. My me testing out stuff on food is more an experiment than a recommendation. The recommendations on this channel are just to be open minded and think about a lot of things, including numbers, and to be a loving, cool, awesome person. Now, let's see. There are lots of random questions. Um, can I eat the sandwich? What sandwich? I don't know. Sandwich with a T. It sounds Halloweeny. A witch made of sand. Um, there may have been requests for some other Kit Kats, so I guess I need to at least see how the boy band one tastes because I thought that was pretty funny. So let's find where those fell. All right. These are the boy band ones. Now, also, I do want to mention right now that one thing I'm going to work on this month is on this bonus channel, although it's doing so well, it's not allowed to be in the partner program yet, like my main channel is, because shorts don't count in the same way toward your watch hours. So, anyone who wants to watch or rewatch these streams, as well as I might start posting some more little rant like videos that are non shorts, that would really help because I want to get this channel on the partner program too. Not even to get money out of it because I'm not like in a rush to try and make money. Shorts can't even be monetized that way. But just because if this channel's in the partner program, it has like better tech support, creator support, and it makes it safer and stuff. So it would be really great if you guys help me with my mission to somehow get more watch hours on this channel that aren't shorts. So it can also be in the partner program like my main channel is. I did actually very recently manage to enable monetization on my main channel. So before long, I may make the first dollar I have made from combo class. That may be coming soon. Now, of course, it'll be a long time before I'm able to fully make this my job. I still have like private students to make some money on the side and stuff, but this is growing at a great rate. And so just wanted to throw that out there that any hour time spent watching these streams or any non-short videos on this channel is extra helpful right now because it needs to hit this random amount of watch hours to get the right like creator support and stuff. That needs 4,000 watch hours in a period of I think under half a year or 9 months or something, or maybe in under a year. So 4,000 watch hours is a lot. The main channel passed that, but it took the video about titration blowing up for the main channel to get past that. On this channel, it's absurdly past that if you count shorts, but they don't count for the partner program thing. So if you count the shorts, this channel has an absurd amount. However, they don't count, which is okay. I get it. The shorts, whatever they're doing on the algorithm, I don't care. I don't need YouTube to pay me. If they keep showing my shorts to thousands and thousands of people, that's awesome. I'm teaching people. I want to teach people. I want to spread the word about my combo class. So I don't need any money from it right now. I'm almost out of my savings and out of my, able to spend all the money I make from my teaching. But maybe I'll make my first dollar from it soon also. I actually turned down a brand deal before through TikTok twice, actually, just because the companies didn't seem like something I wanted to support really. They would have given me like $1,000, but I didn't want to make videos for even on their channel. They had some bad reviews for like, I don't know. Some of them seemed like they were like ripping off people education wise or something. So I didn't want to support them, even if they would have given me $1,000. So hopefully in the future, there will also be like cool sponsors who want to work with me, like people who design cool mathematical games, people who design weird types of dice or things that I would actually want to promote. Someday, if I ever make merchandise, it'll probably be some type of game or dice or something like that. Like shirts are fun and all, but I feel like I would have a lot more fun trying to sell a cool type of board game or something like that, or like a book I wrote, or things like that. But maybe even just like a crazy dice kit with a guide of how all these weird dice have different properties in different combinations. So, anyone know the names of these? I'm guessing singers or maybe dancers. Who are these? It's not focusing very well. This is a pretty cheap webcam. I need to upgrade all my software. Like that's the one flaw with not having any money for the class yet is that I still need to upgrade all my audio gear and my camera gear and stuff. I'm making this season out of the dirt with what I can, and it's working so far. But things will be even smoother when I get better gear and stuff before long. Now, I guess I'll try this one. Seems like they're probably the same. Yeah, I think BTS was my guess. I honestly don't know if these are the members of BTS or it's like some other, I don't know, K-pop, J-pop, something. This one looks cool. It's a different color on the outside. So let's see what this one tastes like. It's actually probably the best one so far. Maybe. It's like strawberry or something. Again, tastes a lot like milk chocolate. I mean, white chocolate. Or this one tastes kind of like milk chocolate. A little strawberry in this one. It's all right. Um, God, I really feel like I might be coming down with COVID, which sucks. If I do, we'll still get whatever content we can get here. Still, we'll try and keep the education rolling. Unfortunately, what it means with all the COVID running around is I wasn't able to go to a fun party last night, and I might not be able to go to my friend's cabin next weekend that I was looking forward to. Same cabin where earlier in the stream I mentioned as a kid I would read this book called What is the Name of This Book in the Woods? Possibly we'll return to that cabin next weekend. And I'll see if I can convince my friend to want to film some stuff. So, yeah, somehow I dodged the germs for the past 2 years, unless I caught it without realizing. But now may be the day. I mean, not necessarily. I actually tested negative yesterday, but just one at a time, everyone in my house got it. So we'll see. In any case, I unfortunately cannot stream forever for you guys. I think we might have to save the other Goosebumps paths for another day. I will leave the book out here. And yeah, someone's mentioning the medicine you can take if you get it, if your case gets bad. Actually, my mom is taking that because she is much more sensitive. She is like a higher risk person for various factors. So she is taking that. I'm actually more worried about my mom than I am about me catching it, but I think she's going to be okay. But yeah, should be okay in general. I do need to roll out soon because I want to get some rest and get some editing, make sure my Halloween special looks cool for tomorrow. I'll probably stream again tomorrow too. But thank you all so much for the support. I will give one of my outro thank yous as well to if any aliens are watching, if anyone programmed this as a simulation, or if there are any god or gods out there, that shout out to all of you and thank you. And also thank you to all the meaningful coincidences and mathematical patterns and nature. Thanks to all of this nature. Thanks to my staghorn fern and my clocks. And thank you to all of you. You are my combo lords. I have the link higher up in this chat for the Discord and subreddit. So click on that before the stream ends if anyone wants to hop onto those. Have some good places to chat to some other combo lords. And in any case, I'll probably see y'all for a stream tomorrow because it is actual Halloween then. And I'll definitely see you on the main channel for some pumpkin chaos tomorrow for an episode. And next time I stream, we will maybe do some more choose your own adventure paths, which will probably be tomorrow. So we'll just do some more Goosebumps paths, maybe. Someone said clocks are nature. And I think that definitely could be considered such. And once you put the battery in them, you're starting to humanize them a bit. So a stopped clock becomes even more natural, perhaps. We'll see.
I want my clocks to be reclaimed by nature and get vines growing in and out of them. Honestly, one of my favorite types of like vibe is nature reclaiming old dead civilization when you see the vines going through old broken buildings and stuff. So I like nature. I love you guys. Think I'm gonna log off, and yep, I'll leave the book out here for tomorrow's stream. So I don't know what time I'll do it, but I usually schedule them a few hours in advance. So check on the combo class bonus channel here sometime tomorrow morning. Morning being the time it was a few hours ago, because it might not be morning for you. And you will see a scheduled stream at some point tomorrow, so we can chat more and do some more spooky endings. Thank you to everyone who enjoyed the stream. And like I said, any time on your computer rewatching the streams or any non short videos I post will help me get those watch hours up, get both channels on the partner program, and continue to build this combo learning program so we can get more and more people loving learning and learning all kinds of stuff. So, that was a lot of endings. This will be the real ending. Love you guys. I'm going to tune out. So stay tuned on the channel for all sorts of new videos. Thank you for the support, and I will chat with some of you in the Discord or the subreddit later.